Hello, hello, hello. We are here in Santo Domingo. I've been in the middle of a tropical storm for like 5 days. It's very funny because the news like in America, my mother's been watching, and she's like, they keep saying that like the Dominican Republic is like gonna suffer this massive tragedy, and there's it's gonna Melissa is gonna become a hurricane and destroy everything, and there's just all these scenes of people of flooding, and it's like, well, that's all true. I'm sure in certain parts of the Dominican Republic there's massive flooding, but I mean, Santo Domingo is very hilly, so like some parts are underwater and then some parts are completely fine. But it's just kind of odd because it's like the schools were closed for like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Kids were home. Everything's closed. It's kind of like COVID again, where you're just kind of like in the house because it's raining and you can't go anywhere and everywhere's closed. But this has been like 5 days, and like this hurricane is now it's just sitting there. It's just sitting there, not moving in the middle of the Caribbean. So that's what I've been doing. I've been mostly cooped up inside because it's been raining for days and will be raining for days. Um, but yes, let's talk about um, why do they always pick female names for the most destructive um, uh, name? I think it's just by chance, right? Don't they go random? Don't they go randomly? You know the I don't know. Um, do you have satellite internet? No, just regular internet. Geckos are doing fine. So anyway, tonight let's talk about um, uh, let's talk about House Dane. So let's talk about House Dane again, because I've been talking about Dane for a while. I've been doing a lot of research on it, and the thing about House Dane, and the thing about a lot of stuff in the A Song of Ice and Fire series, is that there is all of this, I would say, reverence for certain aspects of the story and the lore, and it's kind of funny to have so much reverence for certain things. Like I remember years ago, maybe 10 years ago, like being in chat rooms, like arguing about the Tower of Joy, and people were like, how are you going to say that like the King's Guard under Ares, who are considered like the most honorable King's Guard, would ever you know would not follow their vows and stuff like that, and just like this idea that you're in this very serious story of noble knights and stuff like that. And a lot of the things surrounding House Dane, you just get that feeling of it, right? You get these names of these places: Starfall and Ashara Dane and Arthur Dane, the Sword of the Morning, and they just kind of roll off your tongue, and there's something very honorable about it, at least sounding, something. But you also, like, stepping back, you gotta like really look at that House Dane and the sword and Arthur Dane and all of this on one level. And I'm not saying that George isn't also simultaneously serious and has the story grow into something else, but in its creation, at its beginning, House Dane is a fucking joke. Like, it's a fucking joke, okay? Arthur Dane, the Sword of the Morning, is literally a dick joke. It is a dick joke to start, and you have to like start from that place. Like, the Sword of the Morning is morning wood. It is very clearly this. Like, people are going to be like, "Oh, you always find dicks everywhere," but it's like the Sword of the Morning. And just to prove, or just to show what I'm talking about here, um, there's actually even a So Spake Martin about where George doubles down on the joke, and he says, here it is. He says, let me see, here it is. They go, um, Dawn remains at Star. What happened to Sir Arthur Dayne's sword Dawn after Ned brought it back to Ashara? And George responds, Dawn remains at Starfall until another sword of the morning shall arise. Like, he's really fucking talking about the fucking dick joke. It's fucking morning wood. Okay. Now this is pretty fucking common. When you go into like the whole story of George, like it's the werewood is named after Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead, and the words of House Lannister, "Hear me roar," which is like after a song like "Woman, Hear Me Roar," like the women's empowerment song from the 70s. Like, there's so many of these little things like that. But when we talk about like where Arthur Dayne's name comes from, the Arthur obviously comes from King Arthur. We're talking about Arthurian legend to try to get that element to it. And Dayne comes from Marvel Comics. It comes from Dayne Whitman, who is the Black Knight, a superhero that existed. He in and out of popularity, but during the very end of the late 60s into the 70s, the Black Knight was part of the Avengers team. And Dayne Whitman, he had a sword called the Ebony Blade, that was a meteorite. And there's a lot of similarities to Elric, in that, and we know that George is like obsessed with Elric, but like Elric's sword Stormbringer, had a mind of its own and was cursed and would corrupt its user and things like that. And so the Black Knight is supposed to struggle with the Ebony Blade and stuff like this. Ironic that later in the Eternals movie, Kit Harington plays Dayne Whitman. I mean, he plays the Black Knight by chance, not getting into like whatever R plus L equals D or B plus A equals J and stuff like that. But this is the full name. You're talking like Arthur, King Arthur, Dayne Whitman, Sword of the Morning, dick joke. Like, this is the beginning of House Dayne. Now, if we go into that comic, there's not that George necessarily had all of these comics and read all of these comics. So yeah, I don't want to promote like going into the details of like what happens in a story too much. You got to remember, and I mentioned this to comics fans today versus comics fans like when I was young, or certainly when George was young. Today, when you want to know what like the history of a comic character, you can check out a wiki and you've got the whole explanation of everything right there. And if you want to read a lost comic book on what happened, they're all online, or you can order them on the internet if you want. I mean, they're digital, they're pirated, you can mail away for them. When I was young, in order to find out how a story went, I would have to find another comic book person, which there are not many, and I was a kid, and when I did, you just like talk forever. And you'd be like, what? And what happened to this? And they're like, oh my God, the history of that is crazy. Like, hearing, like trying to figure out the Phoenix Force saga, like as a kid, and being like, wait, I don't understand. Like, Jean Grey was in a pod underneath the water. Like, what? Like, all of this. So you got to understand that like taking every element of Dayne Whitman's story is not going to be that important, because who knows if George actually had that comic book or read that comic book. It was very, very difficult to figure out comic stories. They didn't even start like when they started doing the guides to the Marvel Universe in the 80s. It got a little easier if you were even able to get the guides to the Marvel Universe, which were fucking hard to find, So, but in this story, essentially, there was a Black Knight in the 50s who was a villain, and then he falls, and then he's dying, and he has one of these deathbed vows to to Dayne, and says, "Oh, you be good. You know, I was evil, but you be good. You take the ebony blade, and you be good." And so he does, and that's there's a whole bunch of links to later that year. They also came out with like a Black Knight one shot, which or for as part of Marvel superheroes, and it's related to Merlin and Mordred and all sorts of different stuff. Not that necessarily George read all that. Like you say, it's in a very general, like, I understand, like, it's worth mentioning that there is one of these deathbed vows going on in the Black Knight story, but was George, like, that's a trope, right? Deathbed vows are a trope anyway. Was that part of the whole Tower of Joy kind of thing, or was it just by a coincidence? It's a very good chance it's a coincidence. So, but yeah, Dane Whitman is pretty much probably where House Dayne comes from. Now, with Arthur, once you kind of establish that all of this is Arthurian, and we're making a big dick joke about things also really become funny at that point when you start thinking like the origin of Excalibur, his sword. You've got two Genesis stories for King Arthur that don't fit together, because there is no King Arthur canon. Like, canon didn't exist. Like, that's a very modern concept, that there is a correct right story, a true right story. But some King Arthur stories have the Lady of the Lake tossing him Excalibur, and then some stories have King Arthur pulling the sword out of the stone, or the anvil in the stone, or whatever. It's kind of funny that he's pulling out. He's pulling his dick out. He's pulling out in these stories, but they're all kind of related, and this is an important aspect of all of this, because when we're talking about divine right of kings, okay, what do you really mean by the divine right of kings? Why is feudalism in place? Why do nobles get to be nobles? And the divine right aspect, you kind of go, well, God made it that way. Well, how did God specifically make it that way? Well, God had the Lady of the Lake magically throw a sword to a fucking King Arthur. And there's a very famous Monty Python thing in the Holy Grail about a peasant being like, what? Like, I'm poor because some wench in a lake threw you a sword, But this idea of like, that it's godly, right? That this is divine right. That some magical, mystical force has bestowed the kingship upon people. And when we look at like House Dayne, a meteorite falling from the heaven is this aspect that, it's coming from God, right? It's falling from the heaven, and that is establishing the Dane kings, and that's the sword is the message specifically from God. It's a very literal divine right kind of aspect. But of course, we all know that meteorites are just fucking rocks. Like, they're not from God. They're just a rock, right? So, which means like House Dayne has no right, which means, is there anything magical about Dawn? I don't know if there's anything truly magical about Dawn. Certainly George has said in interviews that Arthur Dayne armed with Dawn would beat Barristan, but without Dawn, the two would be even. And so how does this sword give him an advantage? I don't know. Like, what's so great about that sword to give him this like clear-cut advantage over Barristan the Bold, So, but I think there is this statement being made by George that all of these stories, this Arthurian tale, they are, and the whole story is right about the basis of feudalism is stupid. Like the fact that these kings are ruling is based on nothing, and divine right is insane. And what's funny is that people just kind of worship the House Dayne thing when House Dayne is so clearly that too, right? You literally have these people that are kings because of a rock falling out of the sky that somebody thinks is God, and they now have a sword, and it's nothing more than a dick joke to George. Um, and so I do think that with everything, a lot of people kind of go groan when George puts in Grover Tully or whatever, but all of these things, he does this constantly. Like every other person's name is in the story is a reference to some other thing he wrote. It just doesn't seem that bad because you're not that familiar with it. Like, when you say, oh, Pretty Maris, and I'm like, oh, Maris, because you're naming it after the Windhaven, and you'd be like, well, I haven't read Windhaven. Well, it's there, or Sorella Sand. Well, that's a character from Windhaven. Or, there's a bunch of houses in the West that are named after like the Green Arrow and Blue Beetle and stuff like that. If it maybe because it's not so in your face. I mean, House Went is fucking Batman. I mean, House Went is Batman. Their sigil is literally like yellow, like a bat on yellow. So it's and it's just that when it's, I guess people hate the Grover thing because it's not subtle. There's some subtleness to it. Most people don't know that werewoods are named after Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead, so it doesn't seem that bad. But put another way, like imagine if he named a tree Cobain wood, like, you'd be like, oh, that's a stupid name for a tree. But what, because everybody knows Kurt Cobain. And it's right there. But Weirwood, for some reason, because not everyone is so familiar with Bob Weir, it's a little more hidden or something, But yeah, that's about the big point I'd like to sort of make, is that before having reverence for certain aspects of the story, just remember that George is very irreverent, and he makes a lot of fucking jokes and a lot of dick jokes. He is in a way not taking any of this seriously. And you should question how noble and magical and like the Arthurian legend it is when George is trashing the Arthurian legend. Like he's trashing it. This is the whole thing. Like this incredible quest that Ned went on, where he had to travel to Starfall, like involves giving back this piece of a meteorite to a people that claim that they're kings because a rock fell out of the sky, and it's a big massive dick joke, and he killed a guy named after a comic book character and King Arthur, So but yeah. But anyway, fun stuff. I think it's just one of those things that when you go forward and you kind of go, oh right, this is named after that. That's ridiculous. Or like I say, when people, a lot of people were quite shocked that when I did my going over about Catelyn going to the Vale, and it's a very serious chapter, Catelyn going to the Vale, and yet it's just dick and vagina jokes the whole time, with like a joke of literally like semen spraying on Catelyn's face. And when people go, I don't know, like once you like read it out and you're like, well, yes, is the Giant's Lance a big dick? Everyone knows that the Giant's Lance is a big dick. So when the Giant's Lance is spewing out mist and it's going onto Catelyn's face, and there's a paragraph describing that. I mean, is George not making that joke? Like, like are people being like, well, yes, the Giant's Lance is a dick, but then all of a sudden he's shutting off that metaphor when the giant is spewing out mist onto her face, like, right? Take everything with a grain of salt. Like George isn't taking necessarily everything very seriously, and we shouldn't take things seriously. We should question the tone and the mood of everything. Um, anyway, here we go. David asks, "Hi Preston, thanks for the streams. The dulcet tones of you and the boys have drifted me to slumber on many nights. The Danes would have been a fun topic in the Dunk and Egg story, perception versus reality." Yeah, I'm surprised. It's too bad that we never got the Dornish adventure. So George R. When the Hedge Knight ends, Dunk and Egg say they're going to Dorne, and when the Sworn Sword begins, they have returned from Dorne, and it's the Sworn Sword is actually written in a way that, as if there would be no Dornish adventure. Like he starts talking about like their horse dying in Dorne, and like obviously if you had the Dornish adventure, you wouldn't tell how with Chestnut, yeah, how Chestnut would die when we would have all observed it in the second story, But George on occasion had said, "Oh, maybe I should go back and write the Dornish adventure after all." But it would have been really fun to have them down there and dealing with different Dornish characters, perhaps House Dayne. But yeah, I'm getting pretty excited about Dunk and Egg in general. I hope that everyone else gets excited about it. It doesn't have the same. It doesn't seem like it has the same vibe as House of the Dragon, where everybody's like looking forward to it. Like it does seem like a quiet thing. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everyone will freak the fuck out about Dunk and Egg once it premieres. It's going to be great. But yeah, I'm surprised how many people talk about how they use YouTube videos to go to sleep at night, and people talking and like the ASMR aspect of it too. But anyway, and I appreciate it, David. How did Jack survive Ned's coup? Mentioned in the fanfic. Maybe that would be fun. So what Sam is talking about is Jax is a member of Ned's household guard, and he is last seen in a Game of Thrones, and then he vanishes, and he only reappears in the appendices of A Storm of Swords, saying that he's with Hallis Mullen. And so this is even in the wiki, so I guess, Elio put in there or something, like it says presumably he and a headcanon explanation is given on how Jax warped from a very dangerous place where everyone was getting killed to being alive and well and transporting Ned's bones. Because was Jax not in the throne room when everyone was getting stabbed during the coup? Was he you'd think that at that moment Ned would be at all hands on deck, Jax, come on. Unless he was responsible for guarding Sansa and he surrendered immediately or something, and he was imprisoned and they just had him. And then the theory that's given in the wiki is that he survives the coup. Maybe he was assigned protecting Sansa and Septim Dayne. But did Septim Dayne, didn't they kill Septim Dayne? That's the thing, is Septim Dayne. Yeah. Someone as harmless as Septim Dayne is fucking killed, right? Why would they spare Jax? But for some reason, Jax, I guess he got somebody nicer captured him and they didn't kill him. and he was somehow imprisoned. And then when Cleos Frey was being sent back along with, the assumption is that as part of a peace deal, Cleos Frey is sent back to Catalan with maybe some like guards, um, and then he's freed, and then he joins up with Hal Smallman. But yeah, it's quite a story. It's like, if they're such bastards that they're killing Septimore Dayne, why would they spare Jax? And I think is Quent another one? I think Quent. I'm trying to remember all of them. Right, Quent also. Um, he and Wayne fall behind. No, no, Quent. Not. Never mind. Quent. Wait, how did Quent get down to Catalan? Quent and Wayne fall behind. They fail to guard Bran, who's left of his own devices. Falls, and then Quent all of a sudden appears with Catalan. How did Quent get down to Catalan when he was up at Winterfell? Oh, jeez. Shad? Yeah, okay, Shad's fine. But, man, these guards, Quentin, Quentin, Quentin Jacks have the ability are like incredible. They're incredible teleporters. They are insane. Um, Hey, love you, Preston. The biting of coin thing is meant to be ironic. It's a modern invention. QI with Stephen Fry did a piece on it. We make fun of Dunk, but we don't know how to verify coins either. No, the thing is, Adam, uh, I completely agree that biting coins is something that people probably never did historically, and it's a silly kind of concept, and that somehow we as a society like got into this idea of like biting coins. But I don't believe that George is meaning it to be ironic, because the the man in um the insurance salesman in Bravos, like, is like part of his routine is biting coins. And so he of all people would be an expert on money. And so like he would know. Like, yeah, I understand that like Arya can be an idiot and Dunk is an idiot and Pate is an idiot. I accept that all three of those characters are idiots and think biting coins is something that it's not. But the insurance salesman should definitely know. Like, and he had like a stack of coins and he was biting one after the other. Okay, so this wasn't just like, you know, some silly thing that like Pate feels like he should do it because that's what people do when they get coins. Like, he should be educated on it. So I think that George probably also believes the whole checking the softness thing. And whether that's a myth or not, because I had heard that myth when I was young. And I was like, oh, it must be for the checking of the softness. That was the whole thing. Um, and yeah, I totally understand that it's probably like something that wasn't done historically. But if I heard that myth and believed that myth for decades, I'm sure George heard that myth and believed that myth for decades too. Um, there's a few of those things in here. Like George has a whole bunch of things on like maidenheads and stuff like that, where you're just like, no, that's not, but like, it's he has all sorts of like general beliefs. George is obviously a genius and a super smart guy, but you know he believes random stuff too. you know like there's various things. Like, does George know that like the Lord's right to the first night probably never really happened in history. Like we hear about the Lord's right at the first night, and it sounds like such a horrible thing. But did anyone actually do that? Probably not. Does George know that? You know, when he put Lord's right to the first night in Westeros as something that is happening, I don't know. You know, when he puts rushes in the stories, like he puts rushes as loose reeds, and everybody's like that. They didn't do that. Like they had mats, and the mats were made of the reeds, and the mats were the rushes. So like George has his fuck ups, you know. Um, he has a lot of them, you know, as anyone would writing something huge like this. Uh, so I don't know. I think George believes in the softness of the bite, but I accept that like it probably wasn't done historically, you know. John, hi Preston, at a karaoke bar in Tenerife to celebrate my 30th. Congratulations, you made it, man. You made it. Um, by the way, the 30s are much better than the 20s. All the pressure's off. Your 30s are like your 20s, except you have 10 times more confidence and a lot more money. So it's a great time. It's a great time. Your 30s. Your 30s are much better than your 20s. So, um, Elmer as the Castellan at the Dreadfort, a very impactful chapter for the fanfic. All the best. That's a very good idea. Somebody else, I mean, not as Castellan, he's too young to be Castellan, but to place him at the Dreadfort would be interesting. Because the question is, where is Elmer? Somebody said, hey, he could be at Seaguard. That makes sense that he maybe followed Black Walder to Seaguard, and he could be there. Maybe he walked up a certain amount and then crossed over to Seaguard or something. But yeah, maybe he was left behind at the Dreadfort. As well, because I'm trying to think, because you know what, well, did they stop by the Dreadfort? Yeah, no, they did stop by the Dreadfort. They went to the Dreadfort. um oh wait, no, just Ramsay went to the Dreadfort, right? Where did Roose go? Did Roose just go to Barrowton? Was Roose at, because the Theon's at the Dreadfort in Reek 1, and then he's on the other side. Roose and everybody's on the other side until Ramsay lets them through. And so he goes straight from that to Barrowton, right? They don't even go to the Dreadfort. They surrender. Ramsay. Bruce is rid of the second wife. House faction. Plan the defeat by drawing against the Dreadfort. Does he go to the Dreadfort after McCullough's? After Mokalin's surrender, as Roose's, they just go to Barrowton because they're gonna have the wedding. So Elmer, I don't think Roose goes to the Dreadfort after going north. So that means, I think it might. Yeah, I mean, leaving a squire behind, I mean, it could be logical. I mean, Devon Seaworth is left behind by Stannis, right? So like, um, it's not unheard of to leave behind a child when you're marching into, um, freaking battle. Even though he's bringing Fat Walda and his wife, his pregnant wife, he's bringing his pregnant wife into battle. But but it's not unheard of, I suppose. So I think it's just that he doesn't go. I guess he could send him off to the Dreadfort, but some people, I think maybe the idea that Elmar is at Seaguard might make more sense. Um, or he was left behind at Moat Cailin, maybe. I don't know. Somebody was left at Moat Cailin. Um, so I don't know. Um, doesn't R plus L equals D make more sense? I mean, whether what's something if it makes more sense, um, it could, but was it done? Like I say, like what makes sense and is the most logical thing in the story isn't necessarily what George had planned, you know. And so we already had we kind of had like with regards to R plus A equals J, I think the big thing is that there had to be a subversion of expectations. And the subversion of expectations was the fact that it was supposed to make things worse, or the fact that it was completely irrelevant. And that's what we did see in the show, like that it was just irrelevant. And that was the subversion of expectations. You were expecting it to be this big thing that was going to unite the kingdom, and it didn't. It didn't unite the kingdom at all. And so does R plus L equals J make any sense? Like when you look at the events on the ground? No. But R plus L equals D probably wouldn't either. All of these things don't make any sense. Like George didn't work it out that carefully. He didn't sit there with a timeline and a map and like figure out where everybody was and figure out how many months people should be incubating and how the battles of Robert's Rebellion. Like Robert's Rebellion makes no sense. The whole thing makes no sense. People are sitting around for nearly a year doing nothing between the Battle of the Bells and the Trident. And you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So, does it make more sense? Does it make, I think what kind of makes most sense now is that Dany is a dragon seed. Because something has to be done. Like something's wrong with her childhood. Something's wrong with her childhood and those memories. And so I think there's something wrong at the House with the Red Door. I think maybe George mystery boxed it. He didn't know exactly what it was, but that's it. Mm-mm. I know it's hard logistically, but do you think it's a missed opportunity to have Stannis not burn Shireen? I guess. I mean, it's I mean, obviously, like, it's the darkness that George had originally planned for that character, and it's supposed to be very shocking. The thing is, we've now been like sitting around examining this event, this supposed event, for many years. I mean, when did the episode where the burning of Shireen happen? The burning of Shireen episode is season 5, episode 9, The Dance of the Dragons. And that episode came out in 2015. So we're now sitting here. It's been 10 years, where we've been accepting that this was something that George at one point planned. And so if it ever, if it is put to word, whether in the fanfic or in a Winds of Winter that George would produce, it wouldn't be shocking. There's nothing shocking about it anymore. It's now it's an odd little thing, right? Like what no reader now would go through and be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Well, the cat's out of the bag. So I think the opportunity became missed when it was put to screen. Uh, in Game of Thrones, and D&D went and told us in the inside the episode that this was George's plan. I think that by itself made the whole opportunity missed. I mean, now there's no reading it and being shocked and understand and being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this character went there and went down that road. It's ruined. It's ruined. Um, so I don't know. I think the only thing you can do now is wipe the slate clean and do a completely new set of events, with regards to everything. Uh, um, on that, on these big shocking moments. Like imagine if you had like the red wedding and everyone just kind of knew about it for 10 years before you wrote a book on it. More. Ugh. Like what? How could you ever put that to page and have it be satisfying? I just don't know. Mm, 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 mm. Um, Richard Black Knight's appearance in Doctor Strange. Do we know that? The Doctor Strange 68? 1984 is Doctor Strange 68. I don't know. Well, 84, that's probably past when George was really caring about comic books. Um, we've gotta you gotta remember, like by 84, he's like married and divorced, uh, writing novels. Um, unless there's a different Doctor Strange we're talking about, but um, what do you think Bran's role will be in the fight against the others? Why is it so important that he be trained by Bloodraven, or is Bloodraven on the other side? Um, no, I mean generally speaking, I think that Bloodraven Bloodraven may believe that Bran has an important role to play in the fight against the others, but I think the larger character behind it all is I think time traveling Bran, and I think time traveling Bran has a role um, to stop to have. I think time traveling Bran is fundamentally the great puppet master of the story, and not Bloodraven. Like Bloodraven is a puppet master, and then you have the great puppet master, which is time traveling Bran. Um, and so what is Bran's role? I mean, I think Bran's role is to is to is time traveling Bran's is trying to take present story Bran and have him um, live out the perfect series of events that defeats the others. That he has been in this timeline loop many, many times, and each time the others win, the others win, the others win, the others win, and so he's trying to get to the point. He's trying to change the events on the ground to have Bran and everybody win. And so like Bran's role is implementing the changes that bring out the perfect timeline. It's essentially Groundhog's Day. I think he's doing Groundhog or running a video game. You know, like you keep dying, you go back to the beginning. You keep dying, you go back to the beginning. You keep dying, you go back to the beginning. Every time Bran dies, he's able to send his consciousness back as a time traveler, collects, and time traveling Bran continues on and tries to get Bran to get it right. And so I do think, yeah, that I think I've come to the opinion now that he's trying to win. The question is like, will present day Bran resist time traveling Bran and figure something out? Or will he become time traveling Bran? We don't, that's the in the show he kind of like, merges with the big three-eyed crow and becomes like super smart and all that. But I do wonder if it's like more interesting if he rebels against his time traveling self, and he's like, no, this is the way to solve it, But yeah, I think that's the role. The role is to try to move everything to get the right timeline. The sword and the stone wasn't Excalibur. The sword and the stone sometimes is Excalibur. It's sometimes not Excalibur. You keep in mind, there's not a correct Arthurian tale. There's no canon. There's no correct Arthur tale. Okay, there's just hundreds and hundreds of Arthur tales like floating around. Sometimes the sword and the stone is Excalibur. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a different blade. Sometimes they're trying to reconcile the two stories that don't make sense. Like you kind of have to accept, like, step back from this modern notion that there's canon. Okay, there's no Arthurian canon. Step back and be like, oh right, there's a million different narratives, and they contradict. Just like the Bible contradicts. How do you reconcile opening up a grave and finding one angel or finding two angels? That's clear contradiction. It's the same thing. Excalibur is sometimes in the stone, sometimes it's Lady of the Lake, sometimes it's something else. Sometimes there's, they even reuse the fucking stone story, right? Doesn't like Galahad like also pull a sword from the stone and all this bullshit? It's all they can try to reconcile this stuff. You can try to figure stuff out, but it doesn't, like, the stories don't make sense. Like, come on, like, like, why create the Amethyst Empress, Dayne Targaryen ancestor? The World of Ice and Fire stuff, you got to remember, is, especially the stuff in Essos specifically. That's Elio stuff. Elio sometimes says, like, that's the one part where Elio is like, well, George gave a little bit of free reign to us for making stuff up. So as opposed to anything else, like anything in the Targaryen history or the prehistory or the various locations. Well, the various locations is all stuff from the books, but let's get into this Amethyst Empress. Legendary eighth ruler of the great empire of the Dawn. Then that's it. Like, she succeeded her father, the Opal Emperor. According to the annals of the Further East, there was a blood betrayal, and his officers named ushered in the Long Night. That's why created. There's one of the things about the World of Ice and Fire is that they trying to create this kind of, that there's all these different stories that hint at one big event, and none of them are kind of getting it right. And you can either try to like take bits and pieces and figure out what really happened, or maybe they're all wrong. A good way to look at it is the story Night Flyers, which, George R. R. Martin has the story of like all of these different cultures talked about the Vulcan, and people are like, oh, what's actually the what is the Vulcan? Can we take all of this information from the different cultures? And it turns out all the cultures were wrong. The Vulcan was something completely different. It's the same as the beginning of A Clash of Kings, where everybody's looking in the sky and looking at the comet, and they're all calling it different things, and they're all wrong because it's just a fucking piece of ice. Okay, it's not Mormont's torch, it's not a firebrand, it's not dragons, it's just a fucking piece of ice in the sky. Everybody's got their story, and as a reader, you're supposed to read into this and be like, oh wow, like there's elements of things, right? Amethyst, that's like purple, and like and the Empire of the Dawn is that's the sword, you're and there's a betrayal and something to do with the others. You're getting all these like hints and elements of something, to believe that there's some sort of like myth, that there's some sort of truth to this myth. Maybe there is, maybe there's not, maybe they all got it wrong, but that's the only thing that the World of Ice and Fire is like trying to put upon you, is that around the world there's all sorts of different cultures who have stories that are similar, they rhyme, and therefore, like, should we trust them? I mean, there's a lot of cultures around the world that have a flood story, right? Does that mean Noah's Ark happened? No, Noah's Ark didn't fucking happen. Like, it just didn't fucking happen. It's impossible to have happened on so many levels. There's no archaeological evidence of this happening. The fact that there's all these species on the planet that didn't get killed out, obviously, there's not that much water. You can't live on an ark for 40 days and 40 nights. You can't collect all those animals. Like, obviously, the flood story didn't fucking happen. And yet people are like, oh, but all of these different cultures have flood narratives. Like, it's the same fucking thing here, right? We're supposed to be like, oh, maybe there's truth to this. Maybe, or maybe they're all fucking wrong. But generally speaking, I don't think reading into the World of Ice and Fire is very useful in determining much about the story. But I don't, could it be a Targaryen Dayne ancestor? Maybe. You're certainly supposed to think that. You're supposed to think maybe, None of the history of Westeros just doesn't make any sense. Like, nothing about it makes sense, right? Like, you just, you've got the Andals bringing in iron, and yet the Ironborn are already there. And, you've got dragons being created in Valyria, and yet there's dragon stories already in Westeros. You've got tan people living in the north and pale people living in the south. Nothing fucking makes sense. The walls of Karth, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. It's supposed to not make sense. You're supposed to puzzle at it because it's almost becoming like looking at the history of Westeros is almost like trying to make sense of like Lost Highway or something, at first, you look at it and that's all it starts. The more you look at it, it starts making a little more sense. And then you look at it a little too far and it doesn't make any sense, David Lynch. It's, the histories don't make any sense. Knights that exist before the Andals come. Sir Hugh's mom as a handmaid in Elaine 3 fanfiction. Huh. Do we bring back Sir Hugh's mom? I wonder how old she'd be. I mean, how old Sir Hugh? Sir Hugh is supposed to be somewhat young, right? He's an up-jumped squire, right? So how old is he supposed to be? He's young. So she could be, I mean, you could say that Sir Hugh is 18 years old or something. So you could have her be like 38 or something. Maybe get Sir Hugh in there. There's a lot of people I gotta make sure I don't forget, because there's a few people in the Vale that even though the Veil chapter was so long, I mean, it came out great. Um, I can't believe like in general, like we organized all of the moving parts of the Veil and like actually made a story that worked a little bit, you know. So, but yes, we'll see. Is there a reason? So the thing is like I think Elaine 3 is going to take place at Maidenpool, and with the invasion force, and this question of like how many people are you going to bring along? Is Hugh's mom going to be brought along? Maybe. And then what, you know, is she revealing important information about Sir Hugh? Is there some important information? Do we need to know anything about Sir Hugh's backstory? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. Think about it. Berserk with the boys. We're gonna try. We're gonna try to do that soon. Um, Trey's been exhausted from working. But yeah, I'd like to get another done soon. Which characters has George R. R. Martin kept alive too long? Maybe all of them. If there was supposed to be a final battle in the Winds of Winter, if we were supposed to have like a final battle in the Doom of Spring, and that book should have been out a while ago, everybody should still be alive, or should be dead. Characters that I think like who need to be killed off, who've been alive for too long. Oof. Um, I don't know about alive for too long, but there's definitely plots, and I think specifically the Veil plot. Having gone over like a Game of Thrones again, and going through the Catelyn chapters when she gets to the Veil, and how for the most part the Veil is exactly the same. All of the disputes and problems in the Vale are the same, and that the plot hasn't moved forward at all is crazy. You know, like we're still talking about Maya Stone and Michael Redford. Like that had like nothing has happened on that. I mean, Michael Redford got married, but like it's you know, like other places just don't have that. Like the North has cycled through the characters, so has cycled through many more characters because there's just been more battles and more people coming through and things shifting around. So the fact that just like nothing really happened in the Vale, and that you can honestly like read Catalan's story of her going in and talking to people, and it's the same situation. Um, you know, nothing happened. So I want to say that like everyone in the Vale being in like frozen, they should have probably been battling and dying and stuff like that. I'm trying to think of anybody else like who I think has been alive too long. um I think the walls probably should have been attacked. Like I think the introduction of the like delaying the others for so long is a mistake. Like probably more of the walls should be dead. It's same with Slaver's Bay. Like, you know, everybody kind of thinks that Dany lingered too long in Marine. So I'm gonna say that like I'm gonna say that generally speaking, like the Marine plot, Skahaz, Hisdar, Green Grace, they probably should have been things probably should have moved faster with them, and they should have been killed. The same with the Veil. The Veil should have been moved you know quicker. And then there's characters that are probably still alive that we haven't thought of. Like we have no proof that Old Nan is dead. Like Old Nan might still be fucking alive. Like that's Beth Cassell might still be alive. Like all these characters are still at the Dreadfort. It's quite amazing. Like that Old Nan could still be alive. Oh man. Um uh, yeah. A lot of things surprise me about Feast for Crows and a Dance with Dragons. Uh, 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 Will Sweet Robin and Company be doing a breakdown of the trailer? No, I don't think so. I think that I think I've got too many other things that I need to focus on. Mainly going like mainly Dunk is coming and the fanfic that I can't like wait. I can't like I don't want to say waste, but I can't like devote a week into like coming up with jokes and like having Brandon, Chad, and Sweet Robin like break down the trailer. Also, I don't know like I don't know how it's gonna work if the show's really good. Like the thing is like they're at their best when the show is at its worst, right? What happens when Dunk is what if Dunk and the thing is right now all signs are pointing to the fact that Dunkin' Egg is going to be fucking great. Like I don't every interview I've seen with Ira Parker, every interview I've seen with the actors, everything I'm just like, yep, they're on note. Like, oh my god, they've thought about that. They understand what they understand the story. Like it's just looking good. So I do wonder what's going to happen. Like, what's Chad, Sweet Robin, and Brandon going to make fun of if like the show's really good? I don't know. I don't know. Um, I'm rewatching House of the Dragon. I need to restate that the High Valyrian, even with the strongest actors, is BS. Do they not trust their own dialogue? Huh. I the thing is, I've not ever studied the Valyrian language or like whatever dictionaries are online or whatever. So, um, to my dumb ear, obviously, like it sounds fine. Like I don't know what they're saying, um, but other people, take I wish I knew the specifics because I haven't like been through it and been like, well, what is he saying? What have they translated that well? Because I'm just going on the sounds, the random sounds of Matt Smith being like Jaba wa nichiko haucha nansani. Like that's all it's like hearing. It sounds fine to my ear, but I do imagine if I paid attention and knew the Valyrian language, which I don't, that it would be a bunch of gibberish. But we'll see. We'll see. Um, Ideas for deep philosophical direction of the fanfic. So the deep philosophical aspects are going to come mainly from the Jamie and Brienne story, where we're talking about like what is morality. And so if you reread like Jamie 1, we definitely like included some aspects of that. I mean, there's some weirdness in the Cersei chapter philosophically as well, where she's discussing kind of like what is the self, and stuff like that. But I think if we're talking about like when we're the closest that we're going to get to like existentialism, is going to be Jamie, and that's there. More of it's going to come in when in the Jamie in Jamie 2 and on. Like that's people are like, what's the point of the Jamie story? The point of the Jamie story is the fucking philosophy and theme. Like that's the point of the Jamie Brienne story. Like, what are they doing? Wandering around, killing Lady Stoneheart and shit. That reason. That reason. There's a bit as well with Bran. I mean, Bran is going to be killing God and stuff like that. And Bran is going to be in this more like time travel sci-fi high level kind of shit. And there's going to be some stuff with Hota as well. Hota figuring out like sort of what duty is. So I think that is where you're going to find it. Hota, Jamie Brienne, and maybe a little bit of Bran, but that's their whole function. The whole reason those chapters exist, is for the philosophical direction. Like, what is morality? What defines a life? How should we live our lives? Things like that. Um, um, you know, but yeah. Hota, because why else am I including Hota chapters, right? How else? Oh, thank you, Vettel. I appreciate it a lot. Um, that's the thing. This is very true that George is writing pre-Snopes and pre-internet. It's you got to remember like how different the world was before looking up facts and also being betrayed by misinformation. I mean, it's this like the internet's this weird contradiction, right? It's like we all of a sudden now have all of this information that we didn't, where we can now believe shit. You know, we can myth bust everything, and then also have this massive misinformation poison our society. But it's crazy. But yeah, like to looking up those little factoids on the Middle Ages and how things were, and does did George what did George know and what didn't George know? Um, the meteor used to make Dawn is made of junk scrap. Tom Turtle Turdberry telekinetically threw it into space before it landed superheated on Planetos. It's a possibility. You never know. This is what Cash is talking about is it's wild cards. There's the great and powerful turtle is Tom Turdberry, who is George's like main character that he created. He created a few others. I'd say the big ones are the great and powerful turtle is the big creation that George made in Wild Cards. It's the character who is the most obvious self-insert for himself. He's said this many times that Tom's personality is his, and that his life is his. But then you've got what like Desmond, um, uh, Xavier Desmond, then Popinjay, and that weird knight from he also created him. Kind of related to House Dayne in some sense with his ghost armor. He's got this weird name. Um, Wild Cards. What's the name of that? Oh fuck. What's going on? Come on, keyboard. It's not out of batteries. Connected. What's his name? Lohengrin with his like energy blade and energy armor. So George made a few of these. Bet you're a hoot at karaoke. Karaoke, the thing about karaoke, it's hard because you've got to find a song that people want, like don't realize that they've missed. Like, you know, I like finding music that like people are like, oh right, that was a fucking great song. Um and they're so glad that they've heard it again. Like I hate people that go to karaoke and like put on and sing "Living on a Prayer" or like "Country Roads" or "I've Got Friends in Low Places." It's like Jesus Christ, like how many times have we heard that? It's like, but if you can go in there and sing like 18 in Life by Skid Row and you're like, oh shit, I forgot that song existed and that song rocked, you know, like that's great. You know, you go in there and you sing Runaway Train or something. And like the whole room is like, holy shit. It's like Runaway Train. You know, like that's good. But I usually do something like The Darkness or something. Um The fanfic skillfully revives dropped threads and lost characters. It also crafted to reconcile the class themes that disappeared after Game of Thrones. It's a really good question, Carl. That's a really, really good question. because it really should. And because I do think it's just important. I think it's important to bring back the small folk and such. Um, yeah, I think that should be a focus. I think it should be especially a focus of Davos, and probably just Brienne running into the Brotherhood without banners and things like that. Because the Brotherhood without banners are so ingrained with the small folk and such. Um, but I think it's got to be something that I'm going to try to put in and focus on more of like what's happening to the small folk. Um, and the class themes. I mean, you're absolutely right, but how to weave that in exactly is a trick. So, I mean, I'm mainly thinking about right now, like like the various stories, like what is Dany gonna do at Karth? Like that's big. How are we gonna introduce Quaithe and figure out like again and have that confrontation again? Um, Thinking about putting together the Hotah chapter, like what interesting information are we going to be finding out about House Dayne in that chapter? And then, you know, Jamie and the Brotherhood Without Banners and figuring out like what the fuck was Lemoncloak doing. That's mainly, and then after that, I'm going to be focusing on like Bran 2 and like the time travel shit again. So there's some big things on the plate thinking about, and that's even before like moving on to like how to Stannis and the fucking battle of like when Winterfell and Sansa invading the Vale. It's so much stuff, but it's something I agree that needs to be included at some point at a return to that. But we'll 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 try our best. We'll try our best. Yes, like Edgerton, like um, what's the I think in some countries they call it by the better name. Um, uh, they call it by the movie poster. Kill repeat. I think it's called Live Die Repeat. Yeah, it's an alternate title on home video. Much better title, Live Die Repeat. Edge of Tomorrow. Like that's a great, by the way, Edge of Tomorrow is a great movie. It's a fucking great movie with the worst title that a movie could possibly have. Like had they called the movie Live Die Repeat, like holy shit, what a title. Live Die Repeat. Edge of Tomorrow. Oof. Oof. Um, the way Makar and the other higher ups talk to Dunk reminds of saying aristocracy is institutionalized bad manners. That's an interesting thing, right? That like that you know if there are ways to certainly insult people, but like the fact that like it's institutionalized and like you are less than me and I'm going to establish, and it's all part of the system that you are less than me, and I can um even like titles themselves, like why you have to honor somebody by calling them, you know, lord or um your honor or whatever, like establishes like that system, like I am less than you is institutionally, right? Because like in a regular insult is just that, right? It's one person telling another person you're less than me, right? Like fuck you. You know, like it's as simple as that. You suck, like go fuck yourself, right? Like you're establishing these levels and then you're trying to put the other person down, right? But you're right that like institutionalized, it's just that's it's just built in. You don't even need to say fuck you to somebody. It's already part of the system that they're being told fuck you. Um, that's a but man, the thing that really strikes me, I mean, and I'll get into it when we do going over Dunk. I forget if it's next time or the time after, but when Dunk goes in to talk to Baylor Breakspear, and Baylor is like, "Oh yeah, that guy broke 4 lances," and Arlen of Pennytree broke 7 lances, and the fact that he had like that he's like, "Nope, it was 4," and Dunk has to be like, "Yeah, absolutely, it was 4." Um, to like humble himself, but it's just so it's and Baylor is supposed to be a nice guy. He's supposed to be one of the good guys, right? He's the one that eventually is like, yeah, no, Dunk is a he can be in the tournament, and he sticks his neck out and goes to on his trial by combat, right? Saves his life. Like Baylor is one of the good guys, and still he's like, yep, it was 4. Oh, of course it was 4. No, it was 7. Arlen of Pettytree broke 7 lances. Dunk was there, but man. Mm, mm, mm. Oh, is there any character you want to bring in the fanfic, but you haven't been able to make them fit? They I think Hallis Mullen right now. I don't know how to put in Hallis Mullen. Hallis Mullen has Ned's bones, so like I don't know how he would be found, what the relevance of the bones would be, um, what the point it would be going forward. It would just be like, oh, there's Hallis Mullen with the bones. Okay, like that's my problem with it. Like for instance, I know exactly um, how Edric Dayne is going to come back into the story in my head because Edric Dayne has a purpose in my head, like on what it's important. It's relevant that he comes back. He's not just popping up for no reason. It's like the in the later seasons of the Game of Thrones or in later seasons of Game of Thrones when they just like brought back characters to kill them. They're like, hey, remember Blackfish? He's dead. Hey, remember Osha? She's dead. Like, why did you bring him back? So we could kill him. Oh, okay. Like um so yeah, I think House Mullen is one. Um I'm trying to think of a few others. Oh, Benjin. Fucking Benjin. I don't know how to fucking bring him back. Benjin and Stone Snake. I mean, I have more of a chance with Stone Snake, but like, I don't know how to shove him in. Um, I'm trying to think of anybody else. Because I figured out a lot of them, but it's just like no. When are we going to revisit that? Oh, there's just no time. There's just no time. Um, I'm like anybody else. Archon of Tyrosh. I don't know how to do anything with that. Um, uh, the yeah, Idra the Dornish boat people from A Dance with Dragons. I don't know how to bring them back. Like I kind of want to bring them back. I'm like, huh. It was really weird that these two Dornish captain, like these two Dornish ship people, like returned to the Rhoyne and were the captains here, and we're in several chapters, and I just don't have any ability to bring them back into the plot. Like that's definitely one. Um, I'm trying to think of anybody else. I'm sure there's some Reach people. Oh, another one is like how to deal with the Bastard of Night Song. The Bastard of Night Song is currently the Castellan of Dragonstone, and how to bring him back in. I mean, he's not that far from King's Landing, but Loris. I don't know how to bring back Loris and the Bastard of Night Song and stuff like that. That's a toughie. I'd like to bring them in, but it's like I guess they're not far. Maybe you could have Ariane and or John Con deal with them, but it's there's definitely ones that are challenging where I'm like, who would be the POV on that? Also, Davin Lannister, like how there's just no POV to see him. Um, this is why a lot of people are like, oh, Jamie and Brienne, maybe they're going to be brought to the Red Wedding 2.0, and I'm like, that doesn't seem likely. Like, so they can just watch everything. Um, to be flies on the wall, it's just kind of boring too, right? But I don't know how to bring back some of those Riverland plots. Oh, and trying to think anybody else. Oh yeah, that some sort of explanation on who that old man was that in A Storm of Swords, the old man that John like ends up trying to defend against the wildlings. Where did he come from? His whole story, no idea. But there's a whole bunch of little things like that. Um, mm, 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 mm. Old Nan is Jacques and Agar. Is it possible? Could you get down quick enough? I don't. I think Old Nan is still around when Jacques and Agar is around. So. Ancient curse from a galaxy far, far away. The HV sounds good, but you're watching subtitles rather than the good actor. It's very bland dialogue too. I think High Valerian is to cover the blandness. Huh, that's possible. That's definitely possible that all of a sudden you can take a scene that was going to be like awkward and not have any sexual tension in it, but now like Matt Smith is speaking a foreign language, so all of a sudden it sounds sexy. You know, is that I think that's what they're going for. They're like, how do we get this flirting going on? How do we get like sexual tension between them? I know. We have Matt Smith speaking a foreign language, and so everyone will go, oh, that language sounds so sexy, you know, and they're given a connection, right? It, I mean, the High Valerian is specifically to fake a connection between Damon and Rhaenyra to make them seem like they have like some sort of like they're on a different level that no one else understands them. They speak High Valyrian to each other, you know. Yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. I can totally see what you're saying that it's there to. Oh, oh, oh. I really do love Maester John, by the way. Um, Driving back to New York, no updates. I don't have a specific ending in mind for the fanfic. I mean, I know where, generally speaking, I know that the Winds of Winter, I want at least every character to have a motivation to head to Harrenhal. Like that's the minimum is to try to get everyone out, empty Essos, empty north of the wall, and have everyone with a mission to descend on Harrenhal is the goal, you know. Um, no way, Chuck. I mean, falsetto isn't difficult, you know. If you're belting your karaoke, it's not that bad, you know. If Walder, Black Walder, and Peter Pimple die, Lothar usurps the twins. Well, Peter Pimple's already dead, right? Um, I think it's. Oh, I got to go back to my Frey family tree. it gets complicated because there's a bunch of like children that we don't know if it are in succession, right? So this gets House Frey. It's okay. So right now Edwin's still alive, right? So gotta go back to House Frey here. Uh, uh, uh. Here we go. All right. So Walder, obviously still alive, so we don't have to deal with any of this. But Stavron dies at Oxcross. Ryman killed by the Brotherhood Without Banners. Edwin and Black Walder hate each other. And so everybody thinks that Black Walder is going to kill Edwin. Peter Pimple dead. Right? And then Jingle Bell dead. All of Jingle Bell's children retroactively deleted from the story. Because they're mentioned in A Clash of Kings. And then, so I guess you'd then, so the thing is like Walda Para. Now there's some ideas that like, oh, you could claim that like Black Walder, everybody's going to like, when Big Walder starts talking about succession in A Clash of Kings, for some reason he says, after he starts talking about this succession, and he says after that comes Aegon, all of his children, and he seems to not think Walda and Para are in the line of succession. And so some people are like, oh, do they skip over women in House Frey? Do they have a different succession system? We don't know. Because Big Walder also seems to think that Jingle Bell has children, which it doesn't seem that Jingle Bell does have children. So maybe Big Walder's an idiot. We don't know. So, but then there's the thing is, okay, could Walda and Para, if Black Walder is having an affair with everybody, they claim that they're bastards, whether they're not, then, move on to this Miguel Leiden, but and then it just, the idea, I guess you could argue that it starts getting really complicated after this, because then you're talking about the Vale forces coming in and trying to get people over here with you can see that the Waynwoods and Hardings and stuff like that. So the idea is that lame Lothar would just be like, fuck it, I'm going to usurp because it's just fucking easier. All this arguing is ridiculous. I'm the heir. But lame Lothar, he's pretty far down, right? 12th son? Yeah. It's gonna be tough for lame Lothar to but if he has the power, I suppose he could just try to do it with force. I mean, anything's possible, lame Lothar. But I think it was more set up that the Vale forces are going to come in and try to take over, and they'll have some sort of Crakehall Frey, argument with the Lannister Freys and things like that. That the Vale forces will come in and take sides. But it's possibly usurping. Dunk was there. He saw it. No, so Dunk, according to the timeline, Dunk was definitely was at the tourney at Storm's End. So no, it's according to the timeline. Well, the Dunk story is is changed a bit, but he's either picked up at 5 or 6, and then I think in the Sworn Sword it's he says 3 or 4, and then it's back to like then he has like friends in that he remembers in the Mystery Night. So you're like maybe it was a little later than 5 or 6, but that's definitely all like he's taken on Dunk at that point because it was the tourney was 9 years past, and so he picks up Dunk like 11, 12 years past. Yeah, so definitely, Dunk is definitely at the tourney at Storm's End. Like that's the whole point of the scene with Dunk is that he knows that it's 7 lances. Arlen was right. It's 7 lances, and the Dunk is like, no, yeah, sorry, it's 4. Oh, okay. Hi, Preston. We love you. Thank you. Have I ever met a fan of the channel in public? I mean, way back when I did Balticon, I went to Balticon. I met a bunch of fans then. And then there's a couple of times where I've been recognized in public, and people have been like, Preston. And I'm just like, hey, how's it going? You know, shake somebody's hand. That's the but that's happened to me a few times where just somebody like randomly at the street or an airport is like, Preston. Oh, hi. You know, but yeah, I met some people at Balticon, but that's like 10 years ago. Did Arlen of Pennytree get paid to lose to Baelor to boost the young prince's rep? Dunk's knowledge of events and obedience must be ascertained. Oh, interesting. I mean, that might be a bit much. I think that if he made some money off of that, he would be richer as a hedge knight. You know, I think the idea is that Arlen was just being really lucky. Because, I mean, Dunk readily admits that Arlen is not the best of knights, even at the height of his abilities. Like, Arlen was definitely lucky when he broke 7 lances against Baelor. Also, maybe Baelor is not as good as everybody thinks he is. But but it was supposed to be like that was the lucky. I mean, Arlen straight up says it was like the height of his jousting career. He will never do better than that, breaking 7 lances against Baelor Breakspear. But yeah, to get paid to lose, that'd be something. How much doesn't seem like something. I don't know, maybe Arlen would do that. Hard to say what's in Arlen's personality. If Barristan Selmy, if the King's Guard can all fall to Rhaegar, you know, they're all willing to do it. Oh, where's Arya's story going? Ultimately, that's the storyline I feel like I've heard you speak on the least. Yeah, it's true. I do have a harder time wrapping my head on what to do with her. I mean, I kind of know what I want to do with her in the next Arya chapter a bit, but like, and I know that I want to have her return to Westeros, but because she's such a nihilist character that believes in nothing, who kills on whims, it's really hard. It's because you think there has to be some sort of redemption arc or something for her, but how do you get that redemption arc? That's it's something that would take time. Hey, what's going on?
You want to finish what you were saying about Arya?
Yeah, I mean, just like I do have the toughest time thinking about like where the Arya story would go in the end because she's gone dark, she's gone nihilistic, she's done evil things like killing Darian the singer and things like that. We don't know if she actually killed the insurance salesman or not. We get all this darkness. Obviously the Wrath of the Sweetling chapter is kind of nuts. So like where to take her next? I mean, I can take her more dark. We got to deal with Dunson. and the helmet, and I want to bring her back to Westeros. But like ultimately, what do I do with this nihilistic character? How do you redeem her? Because like, how did the show redeem her? They didn't. The show was just the redemption was the Hound being like, yeah, you know what, this is no good. You're not supposed to follow me. And she's like, okay. And that's it, right? And her redemption is getting on a ship and going somewhere. So I don't know how to redeem her. I will have to figure something out. I'm sure people will send me
You'll.
some ideas. How you doing, Carmine?
I just realized. Are you still in the middle of writing Jamie?
Yes. Well, no,
Okay.
not in the middle. People haven't submitted. People haven't. Um, the deadline for Jamie hasn't passed. So no, yeah, the
I was.
Jamie hasn't started. I'm in the middle of Hota, putting people's stuff together for Hota.
Okay. Well, for Jamie, I want to remind you of something.
Hmm.
So, unfortunately, we never got Jamie's point of view in a Game of Thrones, where he has that confrontation with Ned.
Hmm.
But I don't remember. I know they're on horseback when they get confronted in the brothel. Does Jamie bring a bunch of men like he did in the show? I don't remember how many men he brought.
To Winterfell?
No, to in King's Landing when they have the
Oh,
confrontation
oh,
in King's
oh,
Landing.
oh. Yes, he does. He's got a he definitely has a bunch of gold cloaks with him. You're
I
talking,
just
yeah,
had the
in the
realization.
conflict. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just had the realization that when Jamie brought so many men with him, he's bringing so many men not because he thinks like Ned has a lot of guys with him, but because this is the guy who defeated Arthur Dayne. And yes, it is known because in
Yeah.
Catelyn 2, A Game of Thrones, like her servants are repeating the rumor that Ned Stark defeated
Hmm.
Arthur Dayne. So Jamie is going into that confrontation with Ned probably thinking, I got to be careful. This is the man that defeated Arthur Dayne, the Sword of the Morning. You got to put that in the fanfic since you're going to do a Jamie
I
point of
mean,
view.
it's a funny thing because you're right. I would say that you have highlighted an interesting plot hole that I've never thought about before. Because you are right that Jamie thinks thinks he's a fucking awesome fighter, and he clearly doesn't think Ned has any fucking ability at all when in that confrontation. He just like comes in there and is just like fuck you guys, and that's it. I mean, forget how much he outnumbers them. Um,
The reason I bring this up, by the way, is because I was telling you earlier how I was going through my old videos. And I was going through my old season 6 videos, and I had a joke. I remember, I never
hmm,
put in my video. I had a joke about how, because remember the scene? It's Bran and Bloodraven, and they're watching Ned fight Arthur Dayne in the show.
yeah,
And Bran goes, "That's Bloodraven goes, that's Arthur Dayne, the Sword of the Morning. I know he is. My father beat him. He told the story 1,000 times. Really? Did he? He told the story 1,000 times? Did he? And the joke was like, did he use the Ned Stark maneuver to defeat Arthur Dayne?
yeah.
Like, because
Yeah.
Ned bullshitted the entire time for years. So I wonder if like this has gone like all over the place that
Now
he defeated Arthur
you're
Dayne with
making me
maybe
have like flashback nightmares because I'm just like remember all of those like troubled looks that the three-eyed raven gave. Like he's just like, oh no, you're finding out like really harmful information, and it's like no, it was information that was irrelevant. It was nothing like nothing. It had nothing to
doesn't
do
even
with
matter.
anything. Like oh
I
no.
wonder if like I wonder if Robert ever like asked Ned, "So, how did you defeat Arthur Dayne? Because that motherfucker was tough." Well, don't worry about it. It's a secret technique passed down from Starks. You wouldn't understand. But you have to put it in the fanfic because eventually Jamie is going to meet up with Catelyn again, Lady Stoneheart, and he has to
Right.
mention, he has to, or at least think about it,
I mean, you're
or
right
maybe
that
even taunt her.
that's so funny now that you're mentioning it because it's just like how many see now I gotta go back and bring in the fight because he's not even. It's like he's not even concerned. He's just like whatever. This a deadly fighter that fucking killed Arthur Dayne. No, just let's see how many men. It was it's gonna be oops, no, it's gonna be what it's in the rain, right? So it's in Ned. Here we go, Ned 5. The Warren rain coming down. The rain had driven them under their roofs. Um, Lord Aaron, there's no answer. The rain was falling harder, and then an instant Ned glimpsed ringmail, golden lions, their cloaks sodden with rain. He had no time to count, but there were 10 at least, a line of them blocking the streets. Behind, and they turned their horses. There were more of them back then, cutting off their retreat. Make way or die. So I mean, I guess you could argue that he used so many men to assault them because he knew that Ned was a really great warrior or something, and that's it. But
And to the person who said, but Ned always said he would have lost if not for Howland Reed. He says that to Bran.
yeah,
But you know how rumors are. They spread a lot and, so and so forth. And remember, the maids at
mm-hmm.
Winterfell talk about his legend of him taking down Arthur Dayne. So I'm just saying, when you do the fanfic and you do the Jaime chapter, you have to bring this back up. You have to.
Like how he thinks about Ned's fighting abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Must have been luck. Like Jamie, you just be like, it must have been luck. I don't know how Ned did it. Okay, that's interesting. I'll probably okay. All right, Carmine. All right. How you otherwise? What's been going on?
Oh, living. I turned 29 again in a couple of days, so
Oh,
that's
nice. Well, happy
mm-hmm.
29th.
For the fourth time.
Yes, of course. The let's see. What is Doran's opinion of Ned and the Starks? I think that they just lump them in with Robert. That they're collaborators, like essentially. I think the line from In a Feast for Crows about Robert was they like walked over dead bodies. Is that it? Let me see here. Let's make sure I'm getting everybody. Hota, Arion, and Aerys Oakheart. What was it? Was it climbed over? I forget if it's climbed over or walked over. Here we go. He climbed onto his throne over the corpses of children, she said. Though I will grant you, he was no Joffrey. That's the thing. Somebody in the Soiled Knight, Aerys Oakheart says that Robert was no monster. And then Arion says he climbed onto his throne over the corpses of children. Though I will grant you, he was no Joffrey. So I imagine that in the Dornish mindset, and keep in mind the Dornish mindset is pretty fucked up. Like they are quick to always find fault, right? They will sit there planning the murder of children, and then the minute they hear about somebody trying to kill a Dornish child, they're like, oh, these monsters, So I think now, granted, what's Doran like the smart master planner? Does he have a different opinion than Arion and the Sand Snakes? I don't know. Probably not. Like he probably thinks that Ned is a goon who hung out with Robert, who didn't do anything when all these children were killed. He's probably like low on the totem pole. Like he's clearly not in the realm of being on the radar. Like the Starks are not on the radar on who they need revenge against. But at the same time, like they're not going to like him. They're not going to like him because they're just goons, followers of Robert and the Lannisters and such. That's just kind of the usurper and their dogs, right? And that's how the Targaryens, like how Viserys saw him, but they would just kind of see him again as like his dogs, like, you know, he allowed it to all happen. They didn't do anything to stop it. Like, do we have any information on why Doran would like him? I mean, you know, does Doran care that he returned Dawn to Starfall? Like, I don't think Doran would care, you know. So I'm trying to just anything. So I think his opinion is probably just they're a bunch of they're just henchmen of these other horrible people um, that took advantage. Um, uh, uh, uh. 20 Lannister men, yes.
The show is kind of a bit more accurate in that regard because at least Jamie brings like 15 to 20 guys,
Yeah,
all with spears.
Russ puts up a good point that Jamie covers his fears and lies to himself. That's true too. But it's like, how much does I'm trying to think like how much does Jamie even think about Ned? In his own chapters. Oh right, okay. Um, he says, you never think if the boy should wake and tell his father what he saw. If he had pulled her into his lap. If he wakes, we'll say he was dreaming. We'll call him a liar. Or should worst come to worst, I'll kill Ned Stark. And then what do you do? What do you imagine Robert will do? It's funny because it's just like, oh, I'll just kill Ned Stark. But didn't Ned Stark kill? Or you're right that it's like, didn't he kill Arthur Dayne? Shouldn't he be a really good fighter? But Jamie is just so confident that he's just like, no, I can kill him. So Jamie thinks that in a 101 he would kill Ned.
Jamie basically said, nah, I'd win.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Bring it up in the fanfic. You have a chance. Bring it up.
Yeah. Ned Stark. But then Ned hardly thinks it. Like, he thinks about Ned a bit when in a Storm of Swords, but then he just kind of forgets about him in A Feast for Crows. Like he only mentions like Ned Stark's bastard, Ned Stark's daughter. While like A Storm of Swords, he had a lot more um, thought of him.
Wait,
Here we go.
Jamie thinks about Ned. I feel like Jamie thinks about Ned like once in Storm. Wasn't it when by what right does the wolf judge the lion? Isn't that the only one time? Or
no. He thinks about Ned. He thinks about Ned a bit actually, about like him finding him on the throne and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, wolf judge the lion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he appears here and there, but it's a lot less in A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons. It just drops off.
Bring it back up. You have to.
Mm-hmm. About Ned's fighting ability.
Ned's fighting ability. Yeah. I'm sure Edric Dayne will bring it up maybe.
Ned's thoughts on U.S. making a regime change in Venezuela. Is this another Epstein? The Epstein regime change? Like everything is the Epstein ballroom, the fucking Epstein shutdown, the Epstein regime change. It's all fucking distractions from Epstein, right? Look, the American public has no appetite for a war right now. None. Maybe he's crazy enough to try, but man, he's not gonna do that. I don't know. The American public is not going to has has any appetite for war at the moment. Oh my god! But no, I don't think that he's that's the thing is like he's just like bombing some bombing some random boats, right? To make it look like he's doing something. So when people say like, "Oh, like here's the thing. All of these things that are going on right now, and there's a lot of things to fear and there's a lot of things to be scared about, but most of them are for show. So for example, deportations under Trump are actually less than they were under Biden. Okay. Even though on the news, all you see are these crazy arrests, US citizens being arrested, the manager of this comedy club in Chicago being arrested, all these wrongful arrests. But at the same time, like we're talking hundreds of thousands of arrests, like these few loud unjust arrests aren't really the bulk of what the entire like immigration system is doing, right? So like the deportations are actually down, but he's trying to make it look like he's doing a better job on immigration. So to his base is sitting there going, "Oh yeah, what a great job! He's rounding up these immigrants." He's not really rounding up like not enough. Like there's millions and millions. He's not going to make any sort of dent. You can't. Like it's impossible to remove all of the immigrants in America, Carmine included. So the it's all for
Thank you.
show. It's the same with like stopping the drugs. He's like, oh, some right wingers like, what are they doing to stop the drugs? Well, Trump is he's bombing those ships. Do you think bombing murdering whatever a bunch of Venezuelan fishermen is going to stop drugs coming into America? Like the quantity, like think about the quantity of drugs that are coming into America. Think about like how much cocaine that the millions upon millions of Americans are consuming. You think like they fit in one little tiny fishing boat? No, like it's a massive, massive operation going going through shipping containers over land, over sea, through many, many different countries, through many different methods. But somebody gets to look at that and go, "Oh, he's doing something." Right? So it's a lot of bark and no bite on something like this. So Venezuela, no, there's nothing's going on with Venezuela. The U.S. has no appetite. The American public has no appetite for war, and there's no way that they're gonna try to regime change in Venezuela. In my opinion, if I'm proven wrong, you can come back and be like, Preston was wrong. U.S. goes to war with Venezuela, but I just don't see it happening. Um, mm, mm, mm. Um, Thank you, sexy siren 24. Um,
They have one down below.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you like about Angel as a character? I'm watching the show and I find him so bland. He reminds me of Show John. Plus, Boreanaz isn't the best actor. I think Spike is a superior character. Um, I mean, I would say that for the most part, for the majority of the series, I do agree with you. That he's the main character. The more interesting characters are all around him, right? Like if we're really like I don't know if if like how far you are in the show, but obviously like the Wesley season 4 arc is what people are like, whoa, that's when things get really crazy emotional. Um, when you think about like the Holt and in season 3 and like his acting job and like all of that, that's pretty crazy. Um, a lot of times the events are so intense that sometimes it makes up for it. But David Boreanaz, there are some moments where he really does shine, and I think when you get to the 100th episode, uh, David Boreanaz does an incredible job in the 100th episode. And he does a great job in the last season actually. But if you're all the way on Spike, then you're already there. But like there's a moment, for example, and maybe because David Boreanaz didn't need to act for this, but like there's a moment in that 100th episode where Spike tells him that he's been getting visions from a guy named Doyle, and the look on David Boreanaz's face when they say like when they bring up Doyle is like keep in mind like David Boreanaz was friends with the actor that played Doyle, and Doyle, the actor, died. Um, Most people would know him as being the husband of Becky on Roseanne, but he plays Doyle in season one, and the fact that he's like brought up in the 100th episode, and there's a specific just scene and look of like David Boreanaz gives after like Spike reveals that like he's been getting visions from a guy named Doyle, and he's just like like uh but you know there's definitely some great aspects to Angel. But I think Angel becomes this like how much pain can he take? How many bad things can happen to him, especially the season 4 where it's just like every episode things get worse and you're like they can't get worse. They get worse. It's sort of like how far can America fall, and we're like, "Oh, it can't get worse than this." And then like we wake up and they're like, "Oh no, it's worse." That's like season 4 of Angel, and you're just like, how much can Angel take? How much can Angel take? But do I think he's the most boring character on the show? Sure, he's the most boring character on the show, but it's a show filled with some great characters. Um, Man, when I think of the fucking the whole lot of everybody was so great on that show. So I don't know. There are some moments. There are some moments when he really shines. But I mainly think about it. His season 5 performance is probably the best for me. Uh, you never watched Angel or Buffy, eh, Carmine?
No, but I used to living in the New Jersey, New York area, would come on the WB all the time, Channel 11, and the
Mm.
theme song is amazing. Oh my
Oh
god,
yeah,
that
yeah.
theme song, the
Bum, bum,
violin,
bum,
holy
bum,
shit.
bum, 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 bum. Do-do-do-do.
I will
Now,
say, Charisma Carpenter, she has the most beautiful smile of any woman I've ever seen.
oh
Her
yeah, yeah.
smile is
She was
holy
a real
shit.
she was a real beauty. She's a real beauty. Some people in retrospect like not so much Angel, but a lot of people hate on Buffy, the Xander character and things like that because and I guess um there's some truth to it, but at the same time he was very relatable because he was such a jerk. But it's like Theon, why people relate to Theon. Oh, Jamie as Bran's hand paralleling Thailand. Huh.
That
So
is
this
an idea I never thought I would want until I heard it out loud. Huh.
so the idea is like um so like Aegon, he's broken, and then Thailand is there to advise. Is that the idea? But at the same time, like realistically, could I mean the thing is like Jamie pushed him out the window. Like that's the big difference. Is that like Thailand Thailand didn't burn Aegon up. Like he didn't. But so it would be it'd be such a difficult relationship. I mean, to have Jamie and Bran like have that conversation. In the show, they didn't. They just didn't even know what they were gonna do. Do you
They
remember? I
glossed over
remember.
it. Like,
I remember the end of that episode. Jamie comes in and he sees Bran, and you're like, "Oh my god, what are they gonna fucking say?" And then they didn't
they had an
fucking,
episode on that.
yeah, they didn't fucking say anything.
There's a cliffhanger. They end the episode on that. And next episode, it's like, oh, nah, it's okay. You everything you did, you were meant to do, and it ended you. You ended up being here where you're supposed to be. It's okay. Oh,
Oh,
okay,
oh, I
cool.
guess it's okay that I
Thanks.
pushed a child out a window. Yeah,
That would be fun though. Jamie bring his hand. That would be fun.
golden hand, golden hand. Yeah, but I mean, aircraft carriers are the quintessential bark no bite. We put them places all the time to intimidate people and never do anything. Um,
Oh shit, you haven't
Angel
seen it yet, but
Sisyphus. Yeah, it's true.
Joe here makes a very good point. But yeah, according to you, Bran made Jamie push Bran out the window.
I mean, that's the thing is, had he explained it like that, like you don't understand, like you didn't push me out the window, I pushed me out the window. I like organized all these events, you know, like um he's overhated in truth. Yeah, I think some people like hate how self-centered Xander is, but like everybody's self-centered, you know. And Xander gets a whole bunch of like random, like he gets Xander gets so much sex in the show, which is like ridiculous because he's supposed to be the nerd who's like not doing well with women, and he does so well with women. Um, you know, you're supposed to be like, oh, poor Xander, even though like Faith has sex with him for no reason, and you're like, like what? And he like dates Cordelia for a while, you know. Did you ever watch Dev's Hulu FX thoughts? Seems like prime Preston material. Devs? No, I don't know what Devs is. Oh my. Nick Offerman. Huh. Devs is an American science fiction thriller. Um, Lily Chan is a software engineer for Maya, a quantum computing company run by a forest. Lily soon becomes embroiled in a mysterious death of her boyfriend who died on the first day of their job at Dev's team at Amaya. Huh. I've never
Missaria
fucking
is
heard
the
of this
main
show.
character. I neither have I until this person brought up, but Missaria is the main character. She's Lily Chan. Hey, I'm curious,
Oh,
Devin.
right. Yeah. Okay.
Devin, I'm curious. Why do you think this is up Preston's alley? Is it because the main character is Asian? Like, I'm curious.
No, I
Like,
think it's because it's like I think it sounds like it has to do with like a more cerebral, like it's a science fiction cerebral thing. I imagine probably dealing with consciousness would be my guess. Um,
mm,
maybe, or maybe I'm just like you, you know, or is it going to be something like Westworld? You know, or maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm it's nothing like that at all.
oh, here it is. Here it is. It's in the wiki. You glossed over this on the wiki. The
Hmm.
series explores themes related to free will and determinism, as well as
Yeah.
Silicon Valley. It's really blah blah blah. I've never heard of this until this guy brought it up. So
Yeah. Now I'm interested. I mean, it's short. It's only 8 episodes, right? So, and I think I get it here. Because I think Disney has all the Hulu stuff here in Dominican Republic.
to the people who watched it, does Massaria do the fucking accent? Because Jesus Christ, man, I know it got better in season 2, but fuck, bro, it was not necessary.
What if time traveling Bran made Jamie push him out? I think time traveling Bran did. I think everything is time traveling Bran in the end. Time traveling Bran fucks Hodor up. You know. Um, Turned up late, but meteoric iron was a big deal for kings, especially Bronze Age. I've done some work on Tut's iron dagger. Has a lot of nickel. Yeah, this is true. So like before the Iron Age, actually getting um, the essentially having something like steel um, without producing the without producing it like through having a forge and all of that um, was difficult. So yeah, meteorite was like the one place you could kind of get the stuff. The thing is like I still don't know if they cast it. I understand that like there's supposedly a katana that has some meteorite in it in Japan. I could see something as small as a dagger, but the thing is, I think even if they melted it down, they'd still be casting the blade rather than forging it. Because they'd be trying to cast it like a bronze blade, so it would be brittle if it were rather large. So I could see something like a dagger, but you'd think that would be brittle, um, like steel would be if you cast it. Um, so I don't know. Some people also argue that the Iron Age, like long before the Iron Age, people knew how to make iron. It was just cost prohibitive. Like why would I do that? Um, like they had the technology, but they just wouldn't couldn't do it. Like we perhaps have the technology to send a human being to Mars, but we don't necessarily have the money and the willpower and the motivation to do it. That kind of that kind of thing. Like it's the same with the like iron and steel. Um, they have they have the technology, but they don't necessarily have the, the economic motivation to do it. It's cost prohibitive or whatever. Why when there's plenty of tin around, but then when the tin trade gets disrupted, then all of a sudden it's like, well, bronze is hard to come by now, so I guess we're gonna start going for iron. Um, yeah, Xander is the self insert for Whedon, but a lot of people have self insert for Whedon. Uh, 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 uh. And under the Preston caught up with the chat in under 2 hours. I know it's tough. It's mainly because Carmine joined later, and we weren't chatting it up. We weren't chatting it up.
What happened? What about the
Oh, I'm
under
saying
2 hour
that
mark?
I actually got caught up to the end of chat this early in the stream, which usually it takes me like 3 hours, and I've done it in 2 hours. And I was like, it's
Hmm.
mainly because um, it was mainly just me in the early part of the chat, of the stream. Um, PT version doesn't translate proper names, snow, sand, etc., but translates some of the locations. High Garden. Do you think uh, it should be for double meaning? Um, what's the PT version? Playable, not playable teaser.
Portuguese?
Portuguese? Okay, okay. Um, oh, it doesn't translate. I see. So they call him Jon Snow rather than what would be snow in Portuguese? Carmen.
Never.
Okay. Um, it's yeah. So they just would say snow. Okay. Huh? But they do some of the locations. Huh. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Like I don't know if I would make that call. Like if I were making the call, I would certainly like translate something like snow. So I studied Chinese a bunch, um, which most people know, considering I was living in Taiwan. But like one of the one of the interesting things about Chinese is how they sometimes translate foreign words. So sometimes they will transliterate something out. So like Bill Clinton's name will be Kalindwan, like that's the sound out. That's how you do it. Washington D.C. Washington, like that's it. And then sometimes they translate the meaning of the place, or they have some other different name. So, for instance, San Francisco in Chinese is not San Francisco. It's Gold Mountain, essentially. It's the Chinese for Gold Mountain, Jiujinshan. So like, and then sometimes they do a mixture. So you go to Starbucks, right? The word for star is Xing. Bucks, they just translate that as Baka. So Starbucks is Xing Baka. Like that's it. So like, and there's not necessarily any rhyme or reason to which words get translated sound wise, which ones get translated meaning wise, and which ones just get translated mixture wise. Um, it's just weird like that. Um, so
It's whatever sounds better. I mean, again, in
mm,
Portuguese, snow is neve or neve. So John
John Nevy.
Neve does not sound great. John Snow sounds better. In Japanese, snow is Yuki. So
Mm,
John Yuki, John Snow sounds better. So it's whatever sounds
mm,
better.
yeah, yeah. That's funny. Funny. I wonder if like language by language, like how often they do it. I mean, is it also, it's a weird thing as well. It's like certain English words are common enough that like everyone knows that, like that meaning, like what that means. Um, s-
Hmm.
snow might be a pretty common word that most people might know, but maybe not all of them. Like I don't know, sand isn't really that commonly used. So, huh. Um,
You know what? You're right. Because the guy here who's asking, this guy Mello, he is Brazilian. I would
mm,
know because he's been in your super chat and your stream chat for a long time. Like for example, the word sand is areia in
mm,
Portuguese. So Ilaria areia, I guess that kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit. Ilaria
yeah.
sand, Ilaria areia. I guess.
Huh.
But like Maya Stone, Stone is Pedra. So Maya Pedra, like it just doesn't sound great.
It gets to the point where all those prophecies, though, like when Melisandre is sitting there being like, "I look for Stannis and all I see is snow." You're supposed to recognize the double meaning, but that's
True,
lost.
true. Because that would make sense. That would make
Mm,
sense. I look for Stannis, all I see is Neve. Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, you're right.
you know. I guess Venezuela is already unstable, rich in oil, and surrounded by U.S. allies. Regime change may not be too costly. The Monroe Doctrine covers all complaints. I mean, the Monroe Doctrine isn't a real fucking thing, right? Like, it's not like it's like like it's just like a policy that we've kind of had in place for hundreds of years. But it's not like a legally binding document. Um, and keep in mind that like the Chinese like go into Latin America now, and we don't do anything. While years ago we might have been like, oh no, Monroe Doctrine. Um, but but surrounded by U.S. allies. Well, we just pissed off Colombia the other day, didn't we? Yeah, all of a sudden, like, cut a bunch of assistance to Colombia. But
And not to keep hampering on this, but we also pissed off Brazil because Brazil actually jailed or is jailing their wannabe dictator,
oh right,
tropical Trump guy.
yeah, yeah, that's
So,
right.
and it moved Brazil
Lula
further to
is
be
definitely pretty
with
anti. Yeah, Lula is very anti-Trump.
it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So,
but regime change might not be too costly. Uh, regime change most of the time is pretty fucking costly. There's only one example that I can think of where regime change went really well, perfectly, and that was Panama with and we got lucky on that one where we removed him and that was it. This is Noriega, right? Um, but like the removal of Noriega in Panama was probably like the lucky one. Like, oh my god, that was easy. And but like we're really gonna sit there like after Iraq and Afghanistan and be like, oh, you know what? Regime change might not be that costly. And while we're in the middle of a government shutdown, where Republicans are arguing that giving people lower healthcare premiums is too costly, after like no way, like how are you supposed to justify that? Like, oh, we're going to war because we got the money. What? Like, you just told us that we don't have the money. Like, it's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Um, I'll be very, very fucking surprised. I mean, I guess if they really want people to forget about the Epstein files, um, that's true. It's pronounced John Snow. John Snow is the name of John Snow. Oh, and the RPG, they actually translated it to the Portuguese John is what, Joa das
that
Neves.
is Joan.
João. See, I
Joan.
don't know
Mm-hmm.
Portuguese. It would be
Me neither. Yeah.
Juan in Spanish. It's really weird. So here in the Dominican Republic, and maybe this is happening in a lot of countries. I mean, it happens in America, but we're starting to get like they're starting to name people, give themselves names, um, of like you have all the different versions of it. So you know how like John is Juan, but they will also have Johns here, or they will have, you know, Guillermo is William, but they'll have Williams and Guillermos, just like we'd have this in America, right? Um,
Right.
so yeah, I don't know if this has happened. Like in America, we there's people named Liam, which is the same. Guillermo is the same. It's all the same name. It's just different versions of the same. Um, but I guess the same thing could happen with in Latin America. You get Joas and Johns existing side by side. The Do the bastard names link to the ways the babies were abandoned to the others? Do you reckon? Huh. Like Snowgate, leave somebody off in the sand, leave somebody by the river, leave somebody off in the stone, leave somebody near the water, leave somebody on top of some flowers, leave somebody on the hill, leave somebody at Pike. Pike is the one that like doesn't fit. So like any theory that you're gonna have, like I don't know if it really works with Pike. Leave them at Pike. We're gonna bring all the babies to Pike. Nah, I just think they
Or the Stormlands, like
the
leave them out
storm.
during a
Leave them
fucking
out in the
storm.
storm. It's funny to go back and like how they don't all appear in a Game of Thrones, and so you're just like, huh? Well, I don't know what bastards are called from this area, and then they. Oh, and in the Melisandre chapter, she just says snow.
Really? So, huh? That is the
Yeah.
huh.
I mean, it is capitalized in the Melisandre chapter. She says, "R'hllor shows me only snow," and it is capitalized.
So, but it would also that's weird because in Portuguese it would be something along the lines of "Procuro Stannis, mas tudo que vejo é neve." I look for Stannis, but all I see is snow. It would make sense in Portuguese too. I wonder why they did that.
Yeah, but I see like because maybe it's because like I think maybe I'd listened to this chapter so much, the Melisandre chapter so much that it like it sounds better this line being listened to. I think that the capitalization of snow ruins it. The ambiguity. Well, you obviously wouldn't hear the capitalization on an audiobook, right? So I think the sentence he should have had if he moved it around and begun the sentence with snow. Snow is all Azor Ahai has shown me, or snow is all R'hllor has shown me, even though I've prayed for a glimpse of Azor Ahai. If you begun the sentence that way, you have the ambiguity. But I guess there's not ambiguity. Um, Unfortunately, I think it works better with ambiguity. I like it with ambiguity. That's true. U.S. allies is going to be a historic term before Trump is done. That's true. Oh, oh, oh. Jorge Candias translated all George's books. That's just a man. What a fucking lot of work that is. Um, that's funny. How can we pay for our own health? We have to pay for Israel's universal health care. um, and last ones. I know you love "The Maid as Fair as Summer." Do you think it was the first song the children sang? Seasons. Huh. Um. Hmm. I don't know. Do you think George was fair as summer? I'm trying to think like if there's anything that links it with the children. I never thought of it as something that the children of the forest would. Who claims it's Mirish? Mirish love song in Westeros? Really? Oh, I guess it's not even from. If it's from Essos, Mirish love song. Let's check that. I loved a bed slave as fair as summer. Um, Hey, yeah, there it is. You hear it here in the inns and whorehouse. Mirish, the seasons of my love, sweet and sad. if you understand the words. The first girl I oh. So when that's so weird because now like every time he was singing it, like I love a maid as fair as summer. He's translating it from Mirish, and he's quoting the translation from Mirish in his head. Hmm. Hmm. Somebody thinks that it's just Seasons in the Sun, a translation from a Belgian song. I didn't know Seasons in the Sun was. It explains why it's so freaking simple. Huh. Huh. I totally forgot that it was Mirish, or didn't realize that changes everything. Changes everything. But yeah, now it doesn't seem like it would be like Children of the Forest if it's even from Essos. Um, all right. And Latin American John is always spelled Jhon. Interesting. That's true. John and John are different names. Yeah, I mean John is supposed to be short for Jonathan, and John is just John, right? It's like Jude and Judas, two different biblical names, two different people that you're getting named after. Um, it's also the weird thing that like John is short for Jonathan, but Jack is short for John. Like it's like somehow you can make like something else even shorter. Um, Listen to Vaporwave. I've never heard of Vaporwave. Um, so yeah, made it to the end. Made it to the end. So Carmine, what we going on this week? Are we gonna try to do some Berserk with the boys?
It's if Trey is free. I was actually on a call with Trey earlier because I
Mm,
was showing him the thing that I showed you, the email I got. And I asked him if he was going to come on, and he said he was try, but he's got work tomorrow,
he
so we'll
does have
see.
work tomorrow. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hmm
So,
But no, we got to record a couple of things because there's been some stuff happening that I feel like is worthy of a conversation.
mm,
Ira Parker and Ryan Condal. Ryan Condal being involved with Duncan Egg. Something Sophie Turner
right.
says in regards to
Is he at
season.
all?
Most likely not. This is something that the fandom is probably going, not the fandom, but some people in the fandom are going to freak out over. But they forgot that Dave and Dan were offered producer credits for House of the Dragon, to which they declined. People forgot about that. Sophie Turner was asked about remaking season 8, and she had a very awesome response that echoes to something you said 5 years ago. And
Yeah.
your boy, Brand the Broken,
Mm.
he got married.
Oh, really? The actor?
hmm He got married.
I mean, he's getting old, right? He's
Older guy.
um so he was born in 99. So he's 26
He was
and
born in
he
'99. Holy shit! No way.
yeah. Who'd you say he has a husband?
No, he's a wife. What? Did I say? Did I say that? He's a wife. Did I say husband? No, I think I'm
No, no,
married.
no. Okay. I thought you said he married a guy, and I was like, oh, okay.
No,
But no,
I didn't say
I
that at
thought you
all. I
said
said your
that. No, no.
boy.
But who's his wife?
I have no idea.
She's a
Some
normie.
woman. I think so. I have no idea.
Wait, okay. There's a People article about it, and they don't show pictures. He's trying to be private. I want to. No, wait, no, no. I
Probably.
got it. I got his wife. I got his wife. Okay, here it is. You want the wedding photo? There it is.
Homie went from looking like the cutest little kid to immediate dad look. He kind of looked like a dad right there.
You are right that he was a like first season Bran. He's a very good looking boy, you know. And yeah, now
I
he's
want to be very
balding.
clear to the people listening right now. That was Preston that said that, not me. I want to be very clear. I want to be very clear.
I can't. This is how like fucking paranoid the whole fucking world is. Like, you know,
I want to be
you
very
call a kid
clear.
a cute boy, and like you're like, oh my god, like,
Just so everybody knows, in case you haven't, figured out our voices yet. That was that guy.
jeez, this is the world we live in. The world we live in. He doesn't. He doesn't. It's. He looks very different now. If you like, this is,
Yes.
you know, and then it's barely recognizable. Barely recognizable. So different. Oh well.
But no, we gotta talk about that. We gotta talk, there's always something going on, something happening, something's doing. So yeah.
Yeah, he lost the cool hair. It's true. It's true. I mean, don't we all? But you know, when you've got like the beautiful medieval mullet, right? Like, do you think Trey would have his hair if Bran didn't have his hair in a somewhat similar style?
Trey is gonna have that hair forever. He's got good genetics. I know a couple of people who went to New York City Comic Con, and everyone messaged me like, "Dude, I just saw Trey." I'm like, "You sure it was him?" Like, no one has the rock star hair out here. Everyone's balding and they're disgusting. Trey is the beacon of beautiful in this crowd.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, but we got to record some couple of things this week if you're down. Maybe some Berserk and the Boys if you're also down for that.
Yeah, sounds good. See, sounds good. Oh Jesus, I'm 26. I got told yesterday that I'm 38, like 38. Some people are really bad at ages, and you should not take it personally. Like I've gotten things really on a wide spectrum, um, but for some people are just really fucking bad. But um, oh, any recommendations on Nepal, Bhutan, and/or Sri Lanka? Well, Bhutan is really hard to go to, considering have to pay like several $100s a day for. So I've never been to Bhutan. For Nepal, um, I went to Pokhara, and there's a really beautiful lake around Pokhara. I mean, Kathmandu. Some people like Kathmandu. I think Kathmandu is pretty pretty claustrophobic. When you get out of Kathmandu, it's a beautiful, beautiful fucking country. But Pokhara, I went to Pokhara, and then from Pokhara you can see all the huge mountains. And if you want to do like treks and stuff, you can start from there. But even if you don't do any trekking, there's a lot to do. There's a beautiful lake. You can do hang gliding and different sports and stuff like that. I mean, you're gonna have a great time there. Sri Lanka, obviously, most people go to Kandy and stuff, but if I spent most of my time in the south. What did I do here? I want to say I went to like the beach in the south, and then I there was like a woodsy hostel that you kind of take this road up through, and then we went to Candy to see all of the temples and stuff. And I think there's elephants near Candy and stuff. So some good stuff. But man, I mean Nepal, like I went to Nepal for a wedding, so it's like I didn't really properly like go hike in the mountains and do all of that. Sri Lanka, I saw a good amount, so that was good. My yeah, did I ever tell you, Carmine, that my great grandfather um uh lived in Sri Lanka.
Hmm.
It was called Ceylon at the time, and he was trying to teach. He was sent there. He was trying to get eliminate hookworm there, and the British were trying to get off of Chinese tea. What they were doing is they were trying to set up their own tea plantations around the world to grow their tea. So they took Sri Lanka and they planted a bunch of green tea there, and they were having the land work in order to try to get tea because they're sick of paying the Chinese for it. And it caused this huge hookworm breakout. It was a real problem. People were crapping in the fields, walking in the fields. And the thing is, the Sri Lankans, you know, they didn't do this. They didn't even, you know, it wasn't them. It was they were bringing in all of these Indian workers, um, and to work the fields. The problem is that they were on rotation. So my great grandfather like went in, was trying to teach everyone to like use latrines, stop crapping in the fields and walking in the fields. And they'd be like, okay, sounds good. And then they would get sent back to India and a new round would come in, new round of workers would come in. And so he spent years there and didn't eliminate any hookworm. So it was, he saw the whole experience as a big failure. Um, with trade deals and scam investments all over and tons of unregulated money coming in, how do you think Littlefinger will use it? This is this weird thing, like in a in this world of like I don't know, like I all of these like super rich, massively wealthy people. Um, I'm not saying all of them. I'm sure there's a lot of like super wealthy people that are doing charitable stuff who are focusing on charity, but I find it so amazing that there's so many people with all of this power and money that do not want to help anybody. Like that they have no other desire but to try to like collect more money. Like even when you're fucking 79 years old and on death's door, you're just going to spend every moment trying to fucking scam the world and get even more fucking money. Um it's just kind of weird. Um so it's I don't understand it. I just don't understand how certain people exist and why they want to tear why they would just they want to tear the whole system down to try to get more money for themselves, remove all regulations so that they can have it all. So I don't know what's going on with people. It's all fallen apart. um the man the Anyway, Carmine, thank you for staying with me tonight, and the we'll talk soon. And thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.